Okay, guys. Does anybody have any questions about what we've gone over so far? Hopefully you guys have been using it. Yeah? Yeah?
What are we on tonight?
Trouble spots.
Okay, thank you.
So we're continuing trouble spots from last week. Does anybody have any questions about that? No? Conflicts, any of that stuff? We didn't get all the way through it, so we'll get through the rest of it tonight. Next, we're going to talk about globaling intro. And it says, perhaps no CAD system editing function is used more frequently than globaling, okay? And really what that's saying is, you know, if it's not in your dictionary, then you're going to be globaling it. So that's the function that you're going to be using the most. You know, is putting stuff in your dictionary. So when you find notes that have not translated, a global replacement is often in order. Often a global will create an entry in your main dictionary or in a job-specific dictionary. You can start by highlighting your notes, and that opens the global dialog. Most of us know how to do that already, correct? You should. Okay? But we're going to watch the little video that they have on it.
Let's see how to quickly select steno strokes to perform global replacements. In global replacements, in the edit section of user settings, you'll see the option global after scan. If there's a check in that box, here's what it does. When I scan to the next untranslate, Eclipse will automatically highlight one stroke of steno for globaling. If I need additional strokes for globaling, I could simply press Ctrl G as in global.
You understand what it's saying there? So it should have it. Go in there right now. Go into Alt-U. It's under Edit.
Eclipse will automatically highlight one stroke when I scan to the next global after scan.
Yeah, it's under Edit. Alt-U. Go into Edit. And then make sure that that global after scan is checked. Okay, and also that your global magic is it should be, is it?
Mine automatic spelling is checked. Do I want that checked?
You can. I mean, you can if you want. I mean, it's not that big of a deal.
Okay.
Yeah. Everyone has it? All right.
If there's a check in that box, here's what it does. When I scan to the next untranslate, Eclipse will automatically highlight one stroke of steno for globaling.
So when you go to the next and translate, like it's saying, you know, it's automatically going to open this box right here and kind of start giving you examples of what you want to do or what it thinks you're trying to do. Okay? Right here, they're stroking Bernard. Okay? Well, that's only the first part. Okay? So you need the other stroke. So you can either use the little arrows to move over, no, or just do Control G again, and it'll bring in the next one. Okay? Got it?
If I need additional strokes for globaling, I could simply press Ctrl G as in global. Well, what if I scan to an untranslate and the steno that I need to add does not come after, but before the untranslate? Here's where the arrows come in handy. You can target steno that comes before your starting point or after it. Although you can use the mouse to point and click, keyboard commands are generally faster.
And we went over this last week, guys. So, I mean, does anybody have any questions about this? This was kind of the stuff that we went over last week about moving the arrows, and you can arrow over to global more stuff. No questions?
Keyboard's
We'll just
up-down
kinda go through
arrows will add or subtract steno in front of your starting point, while Control down or Control...
And you understand why it's doing that right there, don't y'all? Okay? Why it's only going to FERS because your MIC should already be should already be globaled as a prefix. Okay? Because you should have a certain stroke for MIC. Okay? And it's probably going to be with an asterisk or something like that, because not to confuse it with any other stroke that you may have for something else. You know, if you have, you know, a shortcut to something else, which I do, so I do MIC without the asterisk. So you need to do it either or, okay? Because, and you may not use MK for anything else. And if you don't, then you're fine, okay? But, you know, if they say McDonald instead of McDonald, you know, then it's going to come up differently. It's going to come up MC instead of MAC. You see what I'm saying? Okay? So you're trying to stay as conflict-free as you can. So that's why I use the MAK for Mac. And you can also use the MAK with the asterisk for the MAC, because, you know, you can also have Mac truck. You know, I'm not even sure how you spell Mac Daddy, but you know, you're taking a deposition to somebody and they say it, you know, then it's going to come up McDaddy, MC capital DADDY, McDaddy, you know. So you're trying to stay as conflict free. I'm trying to give you examples of trying to stay conflict free. Does that make sense? Okay. So, you know, if it's coming up as a conflict, then you're going to have to tweak it in your dictionary and in the way that you stroke it. Okay?
Up will add or subtract steno after your starting point. Of course, you do not have to use automatic global after scan. I prefer to use hyperkeys that make it possible to select multiple steno strokes with one button. So here, instead of having to press Ctrl G 5 times, I can just use hyperkey 0 to catch the 5 strokes with one button.
You understand that? We went over that last week, you know, and I don't know who asked the question of why they picked 7, 8, 9, and 0, but that's just the way it is. You know, because they use the other numbers for something else. The other numbers are used for something else. So the way that they global multiple strokes, if you don't want to use, you know, just Control G, Control G, Control G till you get to the end of your stroke to define your word, then you can do, you know, 7 in hyperkeys. Okay? Now, if you're not in hyperkeys, then it's just going to type a 7. Okay? 7 is 2, 8 is 3, 9 is 4, 0 is 5. Okay? Any questions about that? Perfect.
How do you say what your steno means? Total Eclipse lets you global at a glance.
See, and we did this one too. Does anybody have any questions about that? That was on the multiple strokes, global at a glance. Would y'all much rather go over it now? We can go over it real quick. We'll just go over it.
Glance at the list, pick the choice. It's that easy. It's that easy. Ordinary CAT systems may try to use a basic phonetics table and the spelling dictionary to try to guess what you're globaling. This approach is typically not very successful and easily produces nonsense suggestions that only...
You see what it's trying to say there? It's going to give you a bunch of different things of what it thinks that you're trying to do, okay? The most reasonable are probably going to be your first two, okay, of what it could be. But, I mean, you know, it may think that you're trying to, say, paring seasonal. I don't know. I don't even know if that's a word, either one of them. But You know, it just gives you, you know, different examples, so then it starts coming up with nonsense of what it thinks it, you know, you might be trying to do, okay?
Only wind up adding steps to the globaling process. In contrast, Total Eclipse Global Magic is a sophisticated blend of several powerful tools. It's amazingly accurate, and it requires no extra steps. Here, with one button, I've marked 4 steno strokes for a global replacement. Eclipse automatically generates a short list of suggestions.
You see what it did? So if you automatically mark the 1, 2, 3, 4, which is what? Huh? 9. Number 9. It would automatically mark that. And then that's what it's going to do. It's going to bring it up here that 1, 2, 3, 4 strokes were marked. Same strokes here. And now it's going to start guessing what you're trying to define. Okay? And that it's going to give you the most logical ones. And then after that, you know, who knows, you know, what you were trying to do there. And it may have been, you know, maybe a stroke for something, you know, in the oil field, medical field, some kind of medicine, you know, whatever. So, you know, you may have marked 4 and maybe it needed to be 5 strokes. Well, it's going to start guessing on the 4 because that's what you globaled, was the 4. Okay? So it's going to start guessing at the 4 because that's what you marked.
Using intelligent phonetics. No need to type or press the Alt key or scroll or use the mouse. Glance at the list, press 1, then either press Enter or place this in any dictionary I need.
And you see what they're doing there, guys, right? Okay? Real easy. You don't have to go in there and type the whole word out or whatever. You just pick the number. 1 if it was the first one, 2 if it was the second one, 3, 4, 5, whichever number it was. It's going to put it in there. So now it automatically thinks that it's going to go into a main dictionary. Okay? So you need to be real careful when you're putting stuff in your dictionary of whether it's going to be in the main dictionary or a job dictionary or a trash dictionary. You need to be real careful about that. Okay? Now, you know, once it's in your main, yeah, you can go back and change it. You're going to have to find it, then change it. So be real careful with that, okay? You know, and you don't have to even open this little box. Once you know what it's going in, you know, it's already there. And it gives you the shortcut right there. Control M for main dictionary, Control J for job dictionary, Control T for trash. Okay? So you don't, I mean, but if you forget, there's no big deal. You drop the box down, it gives you the examples that you need, then you just kind of go on from there. Okay? Any questions about that? Perfect.
Total Eclipse understands it's easy to drag or drop keys when you're writing complicated steno like vancomycin. A glance at the list, the right choice jumps out at me.
Now you see what it's doing there? Now, he went in and put vancomycin. Vancomycis, okay? But it goes in there and it already puts what you have defined in there. Van is Havan, okay? That's his brief for Havan. So it's going to start telling you what it is. So it's going to start guessing at the strokes that you're already doing. And it's going to put it in here as in, is that what you wanted? Because that's how you stroke. And that's what's already in your dictionary. Or, with the 4 strokes, do you want these? Okay, so don't get freaked out when it already has it in there. It's like, oh man, it already has something in there. I don't know what to do. No big deal, guys. Press number 1. That's why it's in blue right here. Because it's giving you the suggestion of what it thinks you want. You in the back.
Okay, so let's say I click 1 and I hit
Yeah.
OK.
Uh-huh.
You see where it has there where it says main dictionary? is it gonna go in my main dictionary or is it not? Because I just clicked one and hit OK.
Yeah.
It will automatically?
Well, it should,
I mean,
but you should always look at this,
because
because
that's the first one that comes up, like that's
usually-
always there. is
usually.
Main dictionary.
usually.
So
But
if
if you start using a job dictionary,
then it'll put it in
then it may start, it starts guessing what you want to do. So the more you use it, the more it starts knowing what you want to do, okay? So like, especially like on names and stuff like that, you know, and it does to me, because a lot of times I'm putting stuff in a job dictionary because, you know, a lot of it has to do with names or stuff like that. So now it's automatically coming to Control J. So now it's automatically going to J. Guys, it only takes a second. It only takes a second to pick it, look at this, make sure it's the right one, do it. Don't get in such a hurry, you know, that you're gonna start messing stuff up, because then you're gonna jumble up your main dictionary. Then you're gonna start having trash in there that shouldn't be in there, you know? And maybe you are gonna hear vancomycin again. One more time in your life. I've never heard it. In the 23 years I've been working as a court reporter, I've never heard vancomycin. Not to say that I wouldn't, may hear it tomorrow, I don't know. But I haven't heard it yet. So it's not really something that I want maybe in my main dictionary, you know? But it's 4 strokes, so when else am I gonna use 4 strokes for that's kind of crazy and stroked out right, you know, that it's gonna mean vancomycin. Maybe you do want it in it, you know, in your main. It's up to you, but be careful when you start putting stuff in your main that you're kind of iffy about. And if you're kind of iffy about it, then don't put it, okay? You'll know, all right?
Choice 1. I won't put this in a dictionary, but I'll just apply it to the rest of the job. So your steno doesn't have to be perfect to take advantage of global magic. This time I dragged in the number bar. Total Eclipse understands choice 1 and enter. Total Eclipse understands steno stacking. Choice 1, the suffix s followed by you have. We'll see it applied with intelligent spelling adjustments.
You see what it's doing right there? We went over this last week, but let me back it up a little bit.
Number bar. Total Eclipse understands.
Now, say you're trying to write the stroke for assume, which is sum, S long UM, in Sten Ed. I have no idea what the other one is. I don't even know. Is it? So, if you accidentally hit the number bar, that's the way it's going to come out. 15 OU 78. Okay? So you start thinking about it. S is 1. A is 5. And then O is O. U is U. It's not a number. And then 7, 8 is M. You know, PL. Okay? So, a lot of times, you don't have to guess or say, oh man, you know, it's already going to guess for you. And it may do it over here in the Global Magic. It may already have it. So you may not have to define it. You may not have to go in there and global it at all. It may be in Global Magic already, which is over here, and just say, it may give you this same list right here. Okay? But if it doesn't, then, you know, you global it, whatever, and then it's going to go to assume. You just pick number 1 and it goes to assume. Okay? So it assumes that you want to assume. Does that make sense?
See what you did there.
I'm sorry?
I see what you did there.
Yeah. So, I mean, that's what it's doing. So it's working for you.
Choice 1 and enter. Total Eclipse understands steno stacking.
We went over steno stacking too. Do y'all understand what steno stacking is? You know, when you put 2 strokes together and you didn't really mean to. Okay? And maybe you did mean to. Maybe you like stacking your S with the next stroke that you had. I don't recommend it, but if you can read it, help yourself. Whatever, you know.
I don't
But-
think it's that we mean to, it just happens.
Well, that's just
It
it.
just
That's
happens to be
steno-stacking, but if
unlocked.
you mean to do it, then you mean to do it. But if you accidentally do it, that's what's called steno-stacking. That's just where, I mean, you're writing so fast that your hands aren't coming all the way up before you're already stroking that next one. So your release isn't there before it's already stroking the other one, so it's already putting it with the other stroke, which is no big deal. And if you have a habit of doing it, it's no big deal. Define it. You know, define it with the stroke that you usually do it with, you know? And these small ones are usually pretty good ones to do it with. So you already know that that's have you. Well, you know that the S is there because it's the suffix, okay? So it's supposed to be, I assume there are many cities you have worked in. So people would do it differently. You have, for me, would be different. This would be have you, okay? And maybe they stack that too. Maybe they stack 3 strokes together. I have no idea. I have no idea if that's what he was going for, but you see right there, it's pretty clear. But maybe he did. Okay, so no big deal. So this is the way that you're going to define it.
Choice 1, the suffix F.
This is the way that you would define it, okay? That you have worked in. If that's the way that you stroke, you have. Okay? That's have you for me, but whatever. I mean, if it's, they're just giving you an example. But this is the way that you would define it. Bracket, caret, which means it's going to hook on to the word. Be careful where you put the caret, because if you put the caret first, then the letter, then that means it's going to become a suffix. That's a suffix. So it's going to be at the end. Now, if you have the letter, then the caret, then it's going to come before. Now it's a prefix. Okay? So be careful where you put that caret. And this is the way that you would define it, is number 1. Bracket, caret, small s, bracket, no space. You don't need to put a space in there. It already knows. You have. Okay? Write that down. If you can't remember that, write that down, because this is real important on how, and we're going to get to prefixes and suffixes, but this is real important on how you put it in there. Because if you put it in there wrong, it's going to go in there wrong. Does that make sense? So, as you can see right here, that would have been my stroke for it. Suffix s, have you, because that's the way that I stroke have you. Question? Okay. Any questions? No? All right. But you may have been trying to do verses. Maybe that's the stroke that you have for verses. So now it's, you know, giving you different options of what it thinks that you're trying to do. You can also see right there is that it could be us have or have us, you know. So if you have a habit of putting those together, that's why I'm saying you want to be careful. Okay? Do you do the stroke more of, you know, have us or us have? Or do you do the stroke more of the suffix s, have you? Okay? So that's what I'm saying. Be careful there. But if you'll notice,
Followed by you have. We'll see it applied with intelligence.
and with the artificial intelligence that it already has, you don't have to change anything, guys. All you do is put in there bracket, caret, s, not IES, not ES, just S. And it already knows what to do with the word. So it already knows if this was Bob. It already knows just to put the S. Bob's. Or if it was there. You don't have to put the E. It already has the E, and it already knows that even if it didn't have the E, and it's spelled T-H-E-R-E-S, it already knows just to put the E. The artificial intelligence does it for you, okay? So in this case, it was a Y that's going to turn into the IE. Adding the S to make it plural, it already knows what to do. So don't overthink the artificial intelligence and don't overthink the software. Does that make sense? They try to keep it simple. They try to keep it simple and it knows what to do. Make sense? Okay.
Spelling adjustments. How many times do you retype text as you're defining different ways of writing new names or terms in a job? Here I have a job.
You see what they're doing right here is they briefed Tetra Technologies, which is what I've preached to you guys, I think, pretty much since we started this class about briefing. If you're gonna do the deposition of a guy that works for Tetra Technologies and they're gonna say it 96 times or so in a deposition, you think you want to stroke that every time? I'm not saying you don't, but if you do, help yourself. Work smarter, not harder, okay? And you want to do a brief that's not going to conflict with something else in that deposition or in that hearing. Does that make sense? Okay? So say you have Tetra Technologies, where you do tet, okay? And then you have a girl's name or a guy's name. Her name was,
Letitia? Tish or something, or maybe that's how my mom spells hers.
Yeah.
T-I-T-I-A.
Yeah. And you're gonna go tet. In the same hearing, not a good idea. But if her name is Tisha, I do tish, okay? Instead of tet. Whichever one is gonna come easiest for you to remember, that's what you wanna do with the brief, okay? Make sense? But it doesn't mean that because you use tet in this deposition, and in the next deposition, you're taking one of a guy that works for Shipley Donuts, or a girl that works for Shipley Donuts, and her name is Tisha. No big deal, right? Tet. More than likely, in the Shipley's Donuts one, you're not going to hear Tetra Technologies, okay? This is where you would put it into a job dictionary. The oil and gas one, which I would assume that's what that is, Tetra Technologies, I don't know, whatever it is. But you just put it into a job dictionary for that job. Now you're doing the one of Tisha Gonzalez, who works at Shipley's, who slipped and fell at Shipley's and, suing Shipley's. And they're probably gonna, say her name in there another 30, 40 times. Tisha, when you were going through there, Letitia, when you were making the donuts, blah, blah, blah. If you're gonna write out Tisha or Letitia every time, that's 3 strokes. Letitia's 3 strokes, okay? If you wanna do it, help yourself. But if you don't, and you wanna work smarter, this is what you would do, okay? But, they're kind of explaining something else, but I'm explaining about using briefs, okay? So what they're explaining right now is that they went through and used tet for Tetra Technologies. That is in a job dictionary, okay? And what they're talking about here is stacking, and they're gonna explain it here in just a bit.
Dictionary entry for Tetra Technologies. The next time I wrote it, it's stacked with the period. Nope.
You see where it's stacked with the period? For those of you that don't know in StenEd what the period is, it's FPLT, okay? Well, you did it so fast, it was tet period, that it stacked it. No big deal, okay? it's gonna know that it's pretty close to this. And I can almost promise you, over here in the Global Magic, it's gonna be one of the suggestions of, is this what you meant? Tetra Technologies, period. So now it's gonna have Tetra Technologies, bracket, period, bracket. That's the one that you wanna pick, okay? And I think it's gonna show you right here.
Problem. Totally.
And that's exactly what it did. See?